If you've been scrolling through endless monitor specs, watching YouTube videos that all sound the same, and still feel stuck about which screen actually gives you the edge you need, you're not alone. It's easy to get lost in the hype of 144Hz, HDR10, or 0.03 milliseconds response and wonder if any of that really translates to a noticeable difference on your desk. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this review I'm going to break down the Cooler Master Tempest GZ2711 the way you'd want to hear it: real-world usage, hidden trade-offs, and exactly who will get the most bang for their buck. First off, let's talk about what makes an OLED monitor different from the flood of LED panels out there. OLED panels can turn each pixel on and off independently, which means true blacks and a contrast ratio that feels almost cinematic. That's not just marketing fluff. When you're playing a dark-themed shooter or editing footage with deep shadows, you actually see more detail in those black zones. The Tempest GZ2711 leans into that advantage with its deep blacks, vivid colors claim, and in practice, the black levels are indeed indistinguishable from a professional reference monitor. If you've ever been annoyed by a gray halo around a dark object on a typical IPS screen, you'll notice that instantly on this OLED. The 27-inch size hits a sweet spot for a desk setup. It's big enough to give you immersive field-of view in fast-paced games, but still compact enough to sit comfortably at a normal viewing distance without forcing you to crane your neck. The resolution is QHD 25601440, which provides a crisp canvas for both gaming and productivity. In my daily workflow switching between Photoshop, a spreadsheet, and a couple of Discord chats, the extra pixel real estate makes text sharper and UI elements feel less cramped compared to a 1080p panel. Now, the headline numbers: 144Hz native refresh, with a boost mode up to 240Hz, and a 0.03 milliseconds, MPRT, response time. In a controlled test on a mid-range RTX 3060, the monitor delivered buttery smooth motion in most titles, especially when you enable FreeSync Premium. In fast shooters like Valorant, the combination of high refresh and ultra-low motion blur gave me a perceptible edge. Targets stayed crisp even during rapid pans. That said, you'll need a GPU that can actually push 1440p at those frame rates. If you're still on a GTX 1650, you won't see the full benefit, and the monitor may feel underutilized. One of the practical strengths that often gets lost in the spec sheet is the connectivity suite. 2 DisplayPort 1.4 ports and 2 HDMI 2.1 inputs mean you can hook up a next-gen console and a PC simultaneously without constantly swapping cables. The USB-C port delivers up to 65W power delivery, which lets you charge a laptop or connect a modern device with a single cable, great for a minimalist desk. The built-in USB hub, 1 USB-B upstream, 2 USB-A downstream, acts as a handy charging station for peripherals, keeping your desk tidy. What about the downsides? OLED panels, while brilliant in contrast, have a known risk of image retention if static UI elements sit on the screen for too long. The Tempest includes a DCR, dynamic contrast ratio, feature that helps mitigate that by shifting pixel brightness, but it's not a cure-all. If you spend 8 hours a day with a fixed HUD in a game, or you keep a static toolbar open while you edit, you'll want to run the built-in pixel shift or screensaver routines regularly. The other practical limitation is brightness. OLEDs typically peak around 500-600 nits, which is fantastic for dim rooms but can be a struggle in bright living spaces with windows. I found that in a well-lit office with daylight streaming through, the HDR highlights looked a bit muted compared to a high-end LED panel that pushes 1000 nits. So if you plan to use the monitor as a primary screen in a sun-filled room, you might need a bias light or blackout curtains to get the best experience. Pricing is another hidden factor. OLED monitors are still a niche product, and the Tempest sits in the upper mid-tier, significantly more than a standard 144Hz IPS panel, but far less than the flagship 4K OLED TVs that some gamers repurpose as monitors. The value proposition comes from the combination of true black performance, high refresh, and a robust connectivity package, all in a single 27-inch chassis. If you're hunting for the absolute cheapest high-refresh monitor, there are cheaper VA options that get the job done, but you'll sacrifice the contrast depth and color accuracy that OLED provides. So, who should actually click Add to Cart? Competitive gamers who thrive on every millisecond of response time and need that razor-sharp motion clarity will find the Tempest a genuine advantage. Creators who demand accurate color representation and deep shadows for photo or video work will appreciate the OLED panel's fidelity, especially when paired with a calibrated profile. The monitor also shines for mixed-use households where you want a single screen that can handle gaming, streaming, and content creation without compromising on visual quality. Conversely, if you're a budget-focused player who primarily uses a mid-range